If you've been watching the news, you probably heard not too long ago that the FBI raided former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. A day or so after, they issued a joint bulletin with the DHS referencing the raid as another call to violence. The bulletin claimed that the FBI and the DHS observed an increase in violent threats posted on social media against federal officials and facilities, which allegedly included a threat to plant a dirty bomb in front of FBI headquarters and issue a call for civil war and armed rebellion. The bulletin further claimed that domestic extremists will use the 2022 midterm election as an additional flashpoint to escalate threats against law enforcement and their perceived ideological opponents. These claims don't exactly sound believable, not to me at least. What it sounds like is fear-mongering, making unsubstantiated claims to shift the people's focus away from the redacted affidavit. But I can be wrong. If there is going to be a civil war, then we better be prepared for it, and one of the ways we can be prepared for it is by stockpiling ammo. If you haven't already started stockpiling ammo when the pandemic struck America in 2020, it may already be too late at this point because ammo prices have been increasing non-stop since. But better late than never. In this video, we'll talk about my top 5 calibers worth stockpiling. Just a quick note, this video may not be for you if you have biases towards some particular calibers. Number 1, the .22 long rifle. The first caliber on my list is the .22 long rifle. Released some 135 years ago, the .22 long rifle is a relic as it's the oldest surviving rimfire cartridge of its time. Over the decades, it has become the most common caliber in the world, bar none. Because of its popularity, the combined number of pistols, revolvers, carbines, and rifles chambered for the .22 long rifle cannot be surpassed by firearms chambered for any other caliber besides the 9mm. In terms of ballistics, the .22 long rifle is among the weakest cartridges available today, rivaled only by other rimfire cartridges like the 17 HM2 and the .22 long in the anemic calibers department. This makes the .22 long rifle's recoil almost non-existent. As such, it's newbie-friendly. This is why it isn't uncommon to see parents teaching their kids to shoot for the first time using a single-shot bolt action chambered in .22 long rifle. It's also a great option for hunting small game, some species of which can be eaten in SHTF situations. And just because the .22 long rifle has weak ballistics doesn't necessarily mean it's not lethal. Any bullet capable of penetrating tissue and causing bleeding is lethal. The .22 long rifle is no exception. It may be the weakest of all calibers on this list, but with good shot placement, the .22 long rifle is capable of incapacitating a bad guy, more so when fired from a rifle. So what specific brand of .22 long rifle ammo should you stockpile? A box of CCI Blazer high-velocity 40-grain lead round nose costs only $3.19, which equates to about 6 cents per round. Out of a Ruger 1022, the CCI Blazer 50-grain has a velocity of 1,235 feet per second, which translates to a muzzle energy of 135 foot-pounds of force, making it one of the best budget options for plinking and hunting small game. If you have a pistol chambered for .22 long rifle ammo and you want to carry it concealed, the best short barrel ammo on the market is the Federal Punch, though personally, I'd recommend you carry a pistol chambered for the 9mm, which I'll talk about next. The Federal Punch uses a 29-grain nickel-plated flat nose bullet with a lead core. With an advertised velocity of 1,070 feet per second out of a 2-inch barrel, Federal Punch generates a rather low 74 foot-pounds of force, but the bullet's flat nose will allow for deeper penetration compared to competing brands. The price for a 50-round box of Federal Punch is $9, which equates to 19 cents per round, making it 3 times more expensive than the CCI Blazer 40-grain lead round nose. But if you only have a handgun chambered in .22 long rifle to defend yourself with, this may be the best brand of ammo you can stockpile today. Number 2, the 9mm. The 9x19mm Parabellum more often referred to as the 9mm, isn't as old as the .22 long rifle, but there are many similarities between the two calibers. The 9mm was introduced in the early 1900s, so like the .22 long rifle, it's also a relic. And similar to the .22 long rifle, the 9mm is one of the most prevalent calibers in the world, with countless 9mm chambered pistols, revolvers, pistol caliber carbines, submachine guns, and rifles. The 9mm is so prevalent that it's the only caliber for which new firearm models are being released every year. But that's where the similarities between the two calibers end. Besides the 9mm being a center fire cartridge and the .22 long rifle being a rim fire cartridge, the 9mm is also considerably more powerful than the .22 long rifle. To give you a rough idea, the hottest .22 long rifle load fired from an 18-inch rifle barrel will only generate about half as much muzzle energy as a standard pressure 9mm load fired from a subcompact handgun's 4-inch barrel. So does this mean you should prioritize stockpiling 9mm ammo over .22 long rifle ammo? No. The 9mm is much more suitable for concealed carry self-defense and can do pretty much everything the .22 long rifle can do, only better. But you shouldn't hunt small game with a 9mm if you intend to eat what you kill. Unfortunately, 9mm ammo prices are not as good as they used to be. Back in November of 2019, I purchased 10 boxes of Hornady XTP 124 grain jacketed hollow points. A box of 25 was priced at $14.75, which is about 59 cents per round. Today, the same exact brand costs $19.60 or 78 cents per round. That's a 32.88% increase in price for zero increase in ballistic performance. But having said all that, 9mm ammo is still the most inexpensive out of all the centerfire cartridge ammo on the market. At the time of this video's uploading, the best bang for buck 9mm ammo that is not remanufactured is the Nosler Defense 124 grain plus P jacketed hollow point. Grabagun.com is selling a box of 50 for $27.89 or 55 cents per round. With an advertised velocity of 1,200 feet per second, the Nosler Defense 123 grain plus P is capable of generating up to 397 foot-pounds of force out of a subcompact pistol with a 4¼ inch barrel, which makes it a great option for self-defense and concealed carry personal defense. And you'll get even more bang for your buck if you shoot it from something a little bigger like the Ruger PC carbine. Tied for third, the 5.56 by 45mm and the .223 Remington. We have a tie for third place, the 5.56 by 45mm and the .223 Remington. Why do we have a tie? Because besides the fact that the 5.56 has a slightly higher pressure limit resulting in slightly better ballistic performance than the .223, and that they have different head stamps, these two calibers are practically identical. In fact, if you look at the two cartridges side by side, it's impossible to tell which one is which without inspecting their head stamps. Both the 5.56 and the .223 are available in every type of rifle, making them highly versatile. Doesn't matter if it's an AR-15 like semi-auto, a lever action like the Henry Long Ranger, a bolt action like the Browning X-Bolt Hunter, a pump action like the Remington 7615, or a single shot like the Harrington and Richardson 1871. Both rifle calibers are great for when you need to defend yourself against a bad guy from between 400 and 600 yards away. And in SHTF scenarios, both calibers can also be used for hunting up to medium-sized game out of 100 yards. Though personally, I'd recommend something more powerful such as the .308 Winchester, which I'll talk more about later. Some of you may ask then if the 5.56 and the .223 are essentially the same. Are they interchangeable? Quick answer is, there is no quick answer. It depends. If your firearm is chambered for the 5.56, it'll safely chamber and shoot both the 5.56 and the .223. But the .223 won't be as accurate as when fired from a rifle chambered in .223. If your firearm is chambered for the .223, It'll only safely chamber and shoot the caliber it's chambered for, but you're not stuck with its chambering. Let's say you're able to stockpile 5.56 ammo and you only have a firearm chambered for the 223. You can have a competent gunsmith remount the gun's chamber so it can safely load and shoot the 5.56, effectively making it a 5.56 rifle. So what brands of ammo should you stockpile? For the 223, the cheapest brass-cased ammo is PMC's Bronze 55GR. Full metal jacket selling for $411 per 1,000 rounds, or 41 cents per round. With an advertised velocity of 2,830 feet per second at 100 yards, it still has 978 foot-pounds of force, which, with good shot placement, is still pretty good for hunting whitetail at out of 100 yards. As for the 5.56, the most wallet-friendly brass-cased ammo is PMC's X-Tac 55-grain full metal jacket selling for $474.99 per 1,000 rounds, or 47 cents per round. It has an advertised velocity of 2,890 feet per second at 100 yards, which translates to 1,020 foot-pounds of force. These prices aren't anywhere near as good as they used to be before the pandemic, and it's anybody's guess when they'll come back to normal. But if you had to pick between the two, I'd go with whatever your gun's chambered for. Number 4, the .308 Winchester. I touched on the .308 Winchester a few minutes ago when I talked about using both the 5.56 and the 223 for hunting up to medium-sized game at up to 100 yards. In SHTF scenarios, if all you have is a rifle chambered in 5.56 and 223, then you have to make do with whatever you have. But under any other circumstances, I wouldn't recommend those calibers. If you're hunting anything bigger than small game, you can't just use whatever 5.56 or 223 ammo you have lying around. You'll need bullets that weigh 60 grains or heavier if you're going to hunt deer from 100 yards away. And if you'll hunt anything over 100 yards away, you'll be pushing the limits of both the 5.56 and the 223 as far as ballistics and terminal performance. If you take a shot from further than 100 yards away, you're more likely to waste valuable time and ammo and have a wounded animal run off, only to die somewhere you can't get to even after a day of searching. This is why I recommend the .308. Since it was released in the early 1950s, the .308 has developed a solid reputation for being one of the most successful hunting cartridges in the U.S. It offers a good balance of power, accuracy, and manageable recoil that makes it an exceptional rifle caliber for hunting medium-sized game, and even some large game species like moose and elk. And while it may not be as prolific as the 5.56 and 223, it's still a very popular rifle caliber, which means it also is available in many different types of rifle actions. You can get the same Henry Long Ranger lever-action rifle I mentioned earlier chambered in .308 or a Ruger American Model 6903 bolt-action in .308 or a Remington 7600 pump-action rifle in .308 or a Bergata BA-13 takedown single-shot in .308. Or you can build yourself an AR-10 rifle in .308. The most affordable do-it-all .308 Winchester ammo I would recommend for stockpiling is the PMC's Bronze 147-grain soft point selling for $29.09 for a box of 20 or $1.20 per round. At 100 yards, it has a velocity of 2,575 feet per second, which translates to a bullet energy of 2,165 foot-pounds of force, more than twice the energy of the 5.56 loading I recommended earlier. The PMC X-Tac 55 grain. I'm aware that .308 ammo isn't anywhere near as cheap as 5.56 ammo, but if you can reliably harvest an elk out of 300 yards using a bullet that only costs $1.20, it's not so bad. That said, ammo prices will hopefully normalize when President Biden steps down. Number 5, the 12 gauge. And finally, we talk about the 12 gauge. Most people aren't aware of it, but depending on the particular type of shotgun you have and the ammo you load it with, the 12 gauge is a jack of all trades that has a lot of different applications. If you want a shotgun for home and personal defense that won't cost an arm and a leg, you can purchase a Rock Island Armory all-gen pump action for $240 and load it with the cheapest double-aught buckshot you can find. Armscore Precision 2 3/4 of an inch 9-pellet double-aught buck is a great option for stockpiling, as it currently sells for $4.80 for a box of 10, or only 48 cents per round. With an advertised velocity of 1,375 feet per second, it will be effective at up to 40 yards, which makes it suitable for home defense. If you want something for clay target shooting that doubles as a turkey and waterfowl hunting rig, you'll want a Remington V3 Waterfowl Pro loaded with birdshot, the most affordable of which is Sterling Competition Trap 2 3/4 of an inch, 7.5 shot selling for $8.50 for a box of 25, or 34 cents per round. And if you want a boomstick for long-range shooting and potentially hunting medium-sized game, you can get something like a Nova pump action for $450 and load it with Winchester Super X 1-ounce rifled slugs, which are priced at $4.99 for a box of 5, or $1 per round. With a velocity of 953 feet per second at 100 yards, the Winchester Super X 1-ounce rifled slug still has 882 foot-pounds of force, which is more than enough for hunting deer. And that's it for my list of the top 5 calibers worth stockpiling. If there were other calibers you believe I should have included in the video, feel free to let me know by commenting down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and click on that little bell icon so you don't miss out on any new content. And as always, thanks for watching.